On to our next story of the morning, we'll be talking about pertussis, or as it is more commonly known, whooping cough. Our lead reporter, Sravya, is with Dr. Duncan, a lead scientist in research on whooping cough. Sravya, we go to you.
On the biological side of pertussis. So, pertussis is caused by the bacteria Bordetella pertussis, which was identified in 1900 and is an aerobic gram-negative coccobacillus bacteria. These bacteria attach the cilia on the epithelial cells of your upper respiratory system, and they release 4 toxins: the pertussis toxin, the adenylate cyclase toxin, which is also known as hemolysin, the dermonochronic toxin, and tracheal cytotoxin. These have localized damage, but also can spread through the body, and there are 2 lipopolysaccharides, which have an autoimmune reaction where your healthy cells attack themselves. Let's look a little bit more on the pertussis toxin. So, once that pertussis toxin has been released, it binds to a mammalian cell receptor, and then it uses endocytosis to enter the cell through the membrane. Then it goes to the Golgi bodies and the endoplasmic reticulum through retrograde transport, which then goes to bind with ATP in the ER, and the toxin breaks up, so the A domain is released and is transported via exosomes into the cell membrane, and then the domain ADP ribosomes and the alpha subunit of the heterotrigomic G protein, and which prevent the inhibition of the adenylate cyclase, which is how that works.
There are 3 stages of pertussis: the catarrhal stage, the paroxysmal stage, and the convalescent stage. In the first stage, the catarrhal stage, there's a general feeling of ill health, including a runny nose, sneezing, and or tearing of the eyes. In the next stage, the paroxysmal stage, there's a series of coughs in rapid succession with increasing intensity occurring frequently, and this is where the origin of the alternative name, whooping cough, comes from. Finally, there's the convalescent stage, where episodes of coughing become less frequent and slow recovery begins. This stage occurs approximately 4 weeks after the onset of the disease.
A healthy lung will not have the same damage to the cilia and inflammation of the windpipes that will cause the whooping cough to have its key symptoms. Pertussis is protected by a vaccine that also encompasses diphtheria and tetanus, called the DTaP or the Tdap, depending on if you are a child or an adolescent/adult getting this vaccine. The way this works for the pertussis is there is an inactive part of the bacteria in the vaccine that causes your body to build immunity. These vaccines only last for about 10 years, and you do need to get boosters.
Let's look at the signal transduction pathway of GPCRs, or G protein coupled receptors. One thing to note is that the GPCR regulates the immune system. First, a ligand attaches to the GPCR, which will cause a conformational change. Also binded to the GPCR is a G protein, which is composed of an alpha subunit, a beta subunit, and a gamma subunit. The G protein is in an inactive state before the ligand attaches, but once the ligand attaches and the GPCR undergoes a conformational change, the G protein will be in an active state, because the GDP, which is binded to the alpha subunit of the G protein, is replaced by GTP. Then, the alpha subunit will separate and regulate its target protein. In this case, the target protein is adenylate cyclase, which will then relay a signal using a second messenger, which will be cyclic AMP from ATP molecules. The second messenger will then tell our body to do other things.